Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Heavy Metal Devils. Danny here. And today, we're going to have a bit of a look through this past year and the crap show that was Manchester United. It started out quite well and has really, really nosedived. But yeah, we'll go through some of the most significant events. It won't be a crazy long video, just some brief talk about, some of the major moments that have happened in the 2023 year. But just before we get into this, don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe on the way to 1,000 subscribers. And also a big update and news is that I am going to be rebranding this channel in the coming days, coming weeks. Don't worry, it's still going to be all Manchester United. I'm just changing the name. I want it to be a bit more personal. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be a new logo, new everything. Not new everything. It'll look all the same, just maybe a new logo and a new name. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. That should be happening in the next couple weeks, I'd say. Just got to get some graphics made and all that. So yeah, anyway, guys, should we just jump right into it? This is going to be the Manchester United 2023 review. Let's go. All right, so this year, honestly, we were on such a high going into this new year. We just got rid of Ronaldo, which everyone hated, but we started to really drive on once he kind of departed the club. We had a great start to the year, but there were warning flags in that the month of January, specifically going on with our signings. Now, at that point in the season, we were only about 7 points behind the league leaders, really not that far at all. We were going to the final of the Carabao Cup. We were in the FA Cup, and we were also in the Europa League. So we were fighting on all four fronts, having games about every 2 to 3 days, and not many clubs were dealing with that. So most clubs at that point would go and invest in, a striker because we just let Ronaldo go and we did not have a striker. We probably could have invested in another midfielder, which we kind of did, but it ended up coming with two loan options. One in Wout Weghorst, who at that time wasn't good enough to play for Burnley in the Championship, got loaned to Besiktas in Turkey, scored a few goals, but now is apparently good enough for us to take him out on loan. That was a mental signing. And I won't lie, I thought he'd actually do pretty well in the squad because of the way Erik ten Hag wants to play. And he had some bright moments, but he only really scored 2 goals. I don't even know if any of them were actually in the league. I think they were cup goals. He did do his part in the Carabao Cup final, but overall was an awful signing and didn't really provide much other than a body, hard work, and that's it. And then we also made the signing of Sabitzer, which at the time he was coming from Bayern Munich, so I thought, we all thought he would be a good signing. And he had his moments, scored those 2 goals against Sevilla, but ultimately I felt like he was injured way too much and just didn't have that chance to contribute like we thought he could have. I don't think that was due to him. I think it was just the injuries really caught up for him. And I feel like if he didn't get injured, he might still be at United today because he had some really, really good moments. But yeah, our January results-wise was good, but what we were doing off the pitch, as usual, was just terrible in loan signings. Now, moving on, I think this was the beginning of February. We had that EFL trophy, the Carabao Cup against Newcastle, which we, for the most part, dominated in 1-2-0. And that ended our trophy drought for that was going on for 6 years. And we all thought, all right, this is now Erik ten Hag's team. He's got them. We are moving forward. It just felt like such a pivotal moment in the direction Manchester United were going, being that we haven't won anything for a very, very long time. And the first year this manager comes in, we win a trophy. That's kind of where the good shit kind of ended for 2023. Not long after this Carabao Cup, we went on and had arguably our worst result in Premier League history. That 7-0 loss to Liverpool, which was a complete embarrassment for the club, especially where we were, but I actually also point to this loss as another pivotal moment in our uh, campaign going on. From this moment on, we would actually, apart from those two losses at the beginning of the season, we got over, but this loss kind of set us forward in having that mentality of when things get bad, we shut down and don't do anything. We become ghosts, and it happened in that Liverpool game. I think that was the catalyst because not long after that, it happened, I think, at Brighton. I think we had a couple other results where we just totally got. Sevilla was another one, which there was a mixture of issues there. Holy fuck, it's raining a lot. Anyway, but yeah, that 7-0 loss to Liverpool, I think will be a stain on this club and unfortunately a stain on the manager for a very, 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 very long time. And I think was a huge catalyst to our club mentality of where we're at now. Going on after that, that 7-0 loss, we did lose quite a few away games. Holy shit, it's raining like crazy right now. Most notably against the top, they invented that last year, the top 9 clubs. But we would go on to do very, very well at home. We would beat the likes of Chelsea very convincingly. I think we had Bournemouth away. We won. I can't remember all the results, but at home, we never lost. That cost that home record led us to a 3rd place finish. And eventually, even though we probably shouldn't have been there, we got to the FA Cup final, which lasted in all of 15 seconds for us. It was great. That final, we were hyped up for 10 seconds until that Gundogan goal went in, and we knew it was over from there. But who cares? We won the Carabao Cup at that time, right? Whatever. But a 3rd place finish, 2 cup finals. I think it had Ten Hag definitely seemed like he was on the way up with this team. We weren't maybe playing the best way at that time or doing things the way we wanted to, but we kept winning at home and getting those points and ended up finishing that high in the table. That's not a flex by any means. 3rd place is not a place we should be finishing, but it was a step forward. Now, the preseason was an absolute fucking disaster, as it always is usually. We were flying all over the place, had more games than any other team in Europe, I believe Europe, definitely in the Premier League, going back and forth across the U.S., doing games up in Scotland, Ireland, Finland, like all these random places we shouldn't have really been going to, all to drive up more revenue, and it didn't really do much. And we made some, iffy signings. Signings I was definitely very, very hyped up at the start, maybe like Mason Mount. I was extremely excited for a guy like Mason Mount, but he hasn't really featured much. And now, I don't think his signings have been that bad because hardly any of them have really, really featured this season. Loads and loads of injuries. The only signing I'm honestly really questioning at the moment is Anthony, but that was last year. Let's fucking move on from that. He's had a shit year anyway. Yeah, we've had an absolute disastrous preseason. We got our asses whooped. We had some great performances, and we had significant players go down with injury during that preseason, such as Amad Diallo and Kobe Mainu. Kobe Mainu was the big one, I think, which this preseason, I don't think a lot of people have realized now, has really set us up for an awful 23-24 campaign, guys. We've lost 14, I think 50% of the matches, 14 out of the 28 games we've played so far this season, which is the worst record since 1930. We can't score goals. We're I think Luton have scored more goals than us. We concede goals like a fucking open faucet. I think this season we've really, really seen how our players can show up when they want to, and how some of ours aren't really as good as people thought they were, i.e. McTominay, maybe Rashford as well. Definitely for me as well, Bruno. There's a lot of players look, they're good players. I just don't think they fit with what we should be doing anymore. So our campaign has been absolutely awful. We got booted out of the Champions League, which I hate to say it, was all down to the goalkeeper because we were the highest scorers in the Champions League, had the top scorer in our squad. But for some reason, our goalkeeper felt like throwing the ball into our net in most games. Look, he made one awesome penalty save, but the rest of the time he was awful. It's the best way I can put it. Now, that doesn't mean I want him out. I think the first year at Manchester United for any goalkeeper is the toughest year. People are going to, especially when you come in and replace a guy like David De Gea and the way he was treated, which I didn't feel was right anyway. But it's been a tough year for Onana, or at least a tough campaign so far. And I would blame our Champions League exit on him. Now, sorry, there's just so much about this team that's wrong that I don't have the time and energy to go through it all. I want to say right now that we're in the last day of 2023, we've just lost to Nottingham Forest in a terrible display with our players not showing up again, showing up at the Aston Villa game, not showing up at this game. And that's been a thing this season, is showing up for one game, the next game, whatever. Then we try, and then we don't, and then we try. Now, a lot of people are going to put this on this manager. Look, I understand the manager does have a lot of questions to answer for, especially why do you keep playing Scott McTominay? He's by far, in my opinion, the worst midfielder I may have ever seen in my life. Definitely the worst midfielder in the Prem right now. Is not disciplined, thinks he's a top-line scorer, but just cannot hold the position and cannot keep a man marked for his fucking life. So, a lot of decisions like this, maybe some of his signings people are questioning, but we have to remember a lot of his signings are injured and performed very well last year, maybe excluding Anthony. We're not going to talk Anthony. But yeah, for me, it is some on the manager, but honestly, 90% of this is not on the manager, apart from his questionable decisions at times. But we've seen the same pattern over the last 10 years that players will perform well for a season. Then the next season, maybe training gets a little bit tougher. The expectations get a little bit higher. Their dicks get a little bit smaller when that happens and become cowards. I'm looking at players like Bruno. Look, you're a fantastic player, but you don't show up when we really need it. Rashford was my favorite player for a very long time, but his attitude has honestly just made me dislike him over the last year. And obviously, guys like Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, just players that shouldn't be here anymore, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Now, going into next year, I'm quite interested in what Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are going to do. I don't think they should sack the manager. They should at least give him until the summer. They really need to come in and assess this entire business, this entire football club, not just the manager, not just the players, but the higher ups, the medical facilities. We got to find out why people are, constantly getting injured, constantly getting sick. They need to start work. They got to do the work above the manager first. Once that's in place, then we can start to let the manager do what he needs to do. And then we make decisions from there, because people really don't understand that we've had no director of football. We've had a CEO who's been as useful as a paper bag in the wind. We've had no recruiting department, or one that the coach cannot trust, so he has to go out and get his own players. Look, people will go and be like, oh, he spent 85, 90 million on Anthony. Dude, Ten Hag doesn't write these checks. If we had a proper director of football in, they would have been like, no, we are not going to pay this much for Anthony. Maybe we should go for a Gakpo around 35 million, or have a proper club would have a list of players they could go for when a player becomes not an option. We don't have that, which leads us to pay 89 million for Paul Pogba, 85 million for Anthony, 70 million for Casemiro, because we just dish out money like it falls out of our pockets, and now we're paying for it with financial fair play issues. And then we struggle to sell them. We look at people like Sancho, who needs to go. I don't know who's going to buy him. Dude makes so much damn money. Why the hell would he want to go anywhere? But yeah, so I'm hoping, looking into the next year, that Ineos can come in, set up a proper structure. Now, My prediction is like I don't know who's gonna be in charge for next year's campaign, but I think next year could be as painful as this year. This is going to take multiple years to get these so-called football players out of the club and replaced, a structure brought in, how we want to play, how we want our youth. All this has to go back into our youth team, into our women's team. We all want to play the same way. So as soon as youth get called up, they can integrate into our team without any hassle. So it's going to be a long, long transition. But look, man, I'm going to leave it with this. I hate hearing the phrase, "This is Manchester United here." That phrase should be thrown in the bin, put in the time capsule from 10 years ago, because it ain't like that no more. All right? We are not the Manchester United from 2008, 2009, 99. Fuck, we're not even the Manchester United from the fucking 80s with the drinking culture. Though we have some similar things going on. We are an egotistical, overpaid club who let players for the last fucking decade dictate how we play, how much effort we put in, who gets hired, and who gets fired. And that needs to end. That needs to end now. I used to love these players, but now I know which ones are the problems. And I want them the fuck out of here. I'd like Erik ten Hag to stay, do bits with, just see what he can do once these players are out and he can play his style. And if it doesn't work from there, then cool, get rid of him, find someone else. But there's no one right now that will come in and fix this. And for everyone saying, bring in Zinedine Zidane, I just feel like these people don't watch football, because he's said numerous times he ain't coming to England. He's definitely not going to come to a broken, half-assed, don't give a shit club like Manchester United either. I've heard De Zerbi, you're on absolute drugs if you think De Zerbi will get our players playing like Brighton. I mean, whatever drugs you're on, send them my way, because I want that sort of delusion. I've also heard Xabi Alonso. Now, Xabi Alonso is just Erik ten Hag 2 years ago. Erik ten Hag was Xabi Alonso 2 years ago. We all don't act like you didn't want him. Everybody wanted Erik ten Hag in this club. Now everybody wants Xabi Alonso. And anyone saying Xabi Alonso, no offense, he is tearing it up in Germany. You are not a proper Manchester United fan, in my opinion. No Manchester United fan will want an ex-Liverpool player as their manager. He ain't coming here. He'll go to Liverpool after Klopp is done, because we all thought it was going to be Gerrard, but Gerrard, fuck that guy. Anyway, you say Xabi Alonso, and I'm going to call you fake. No Liverpool player, legend, whoever will coach Manchester United, in my opinion. But yeah, guys, it's been rough. Hopefully we can ditch some of this dead wood in January and even more in the summer. But for now, guys, we're going to have to deal with this shit. And like I said, I support these dudes. They've been shit since they've been born. So I'm prepped for this. But are you? Because we've all been spoiled now for 30 fucking years. It's like the last 10 years is just kicking in on some of these players. It's going to be a long ride, guys. I don't think 2024 is going to get much better. But we can all hope, right? We can all hope. All right, guys, that's it. Let me know what you think. Comment below. Erik ten Hag in, out. Let me know if you want what players you want to see out, what players should come in. And don't you goddamn name Xabi Alonso in my fucking comments. Anyway, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Later.